Hello there, everybody. So, Bottom92, aka Nightmare, and I don't know what the fuck happened a couple days ago. Um, okay, so first things first, I want to give a big thank you again to Ariaki for making my the artwork for my Biria. It looks utterly fantastic, and I'm really glad that you guys liked it. Second, I don't know what the fuck happened to my audio. Like, I went to check. I even actually went back and I checked the footage, like, before I even edited it. And I noticed, like, there was an earlier part right before the 11-minute mark. There was like this pause where my commentary just stopped, and then it switched over to, like, mid-sentence a deeper octave. And I honestly don't know what happened. It confuses me. I don't understand what happened. That wasn't supposed to happen, and the only thing that I could possibly think of was maybe... I know my cat Midnight came into my room for a little bit, and she kind of messed around with the cords while I was recording, so maybe that's what happened, but I, for the life of me, have no idea what the shit actually happened. But yeah, I know it's kind of like people are kind of joking about using a voice changer, but here's the thing. I don't think I even have one of those. I think the closest thing I've got is probably Audacity, but I would have to record and then edit it. How I do my usual recordings with this is I kind of record it all together. The audio and my commentary put together. It saves me a lot of time. So I don't understand how... Because here's the thing. Don't get me wrong, I like to change my voice all the time. But not that way. If I would ever do that, I would do it sort of like a joke, and I would distort it to make it sound demonic or something like that. That would be probably the only time that I would do that. This? I'm just trying to wrap my head... I'm looking into it, and maybe it was something to do with the OBS... Or it might have really just been my microphone because the game audio stayed the same. But for some reason, my actual voice went down. Like, for God's sake, I sounded like I was in perpetual Richard mode. Actually, even deeper than that. I don't know. More importantly, though, oh God. Last episode was kind of a... It was a hell of a joy. Also, somebody told me this little trick. I just have to hit the frickin' V key, and I can just hear the voice at any time I want. Thank you very much for kind of telling me how that works. Anyway, I'm gonna try to record a little bit more this time. I want to see, I don't know how long it's going to be, but I'm gonna try to make it to the end of this chapter. Because I was told that I think there's this chapter, and then there's one more chapter after this. And that should complete this route. So I'm going to actively try to complete the chapter today. And if the length of the video doesn't tell you if I succeeded or not, well, let's just throw ourselves in. With a commanding voice yearning for release, the Iron Negrado exposed his true self. The growing pressure that followed was pure and without match. I felt like my body could be crushed by a single wave of his fighting intent. Well, duh. This is freaking Machina. No observations or preliminary tests. He went all out from the start. The colossal threat he posed felt sickeningly evident. His arms of iron were clad in jet black, exuding an ominous force into the air, depriving me of any sense of temperature. The demonic energies seeping into the air were beyond merely dangerous. Their source was the embodiment of death itself. And again, the encoding overload all of a sudden. Weird. I hate it when that happens. A single touch from him would be fatal. After all, These were the same fists responsible for Valeria Trifa's demise. In terms of sheer deadliness, I couldn't hold a candle to him. The battle with Reinhard made me painfully aware that I still didn't have the power to cut the divine vessel, while the one before me could do it with little effort. I don't know, you managed to kind of slice his skin just a tiny bit. You made him bleed a little bit. Oh god. The entirety of last episode was just absolutely insane. And I learned a little bit more about Schreiber than I don't think I was even prepared for any of that. Okie dokie. With a voice both heavy and quiet, the man began his advance, prompting me to leap backwards. His fist missed, but the force of the attack alone rivaled that of an artillery raid. Even if it was no more than raw power, being able to pulverize the tower in one strike was no ordinary feat. I mustered all I had, putting tremendous strain on my body, to gain some distance from him and escape the roaring winds. Fighting Machina from his preferred distance would be far too dangerous. But then, another one of his destructive punches followed, with movements so clean and precise it made me think he could predict where I would dodge and land. He wasn't too fast, though his speed surpassed that of any average person. He was below the likes of Wilhelm. Hooray, Wilhelm's getting some love! And yet, upon evoking my creation figment, I began slowing down others' sensation of time. There was no way he could catch up to me. I was wasting my time. I needed to dodge, not think. I had to be faster, to slow it all down, circumvent the limits, and evade his blow. Right before the impact, I bent my body in a way that nearly tore my thigh muscles apart. While I avoided a direct hit, I couldn't do anything about the pressure from his explosive fists and instantly got caught in the bursting gale. I got blown several tens of meters away, spinning like the tip of a drill. Negrito came after me with the inexorability of an iceberg. An iceberg. I got tongue twisted trying to pronounce inexorability, and I just... Oh yeah, let's get ourselves a good look at that. He just doesn't give two shits. I finally came to understand that the man only thought about killing me. He was completely unlike anyone I had faced so far. His battles lacked joy and zeal. The Iron Negrito sought but one goal, acting upon his desire with a mechanical focus. Yeah, he's not gonna have himself some monologues. He's just going all in, baby. What was his deal? I had no idea what kind of grudge he had against me, but... The moment I roared those words, I felt as if my body had disappeared. And completely opposed to that sensation, my arm began to move against my will, leading me to take the optimal course of action in order to escape this crisis. It seemed as though I was a machine, as well. As I flew horizontally, I shoved my blade into the ruins below and tore at them with great force. The beastly power required for such a feat went beyond anything I could measure. The results, however, were perfectly clear. A block about the size of a car couldn't stop Machina, but it momentarily lessened the speed of his charge. Indeed, only momentarily, but a fleeting instant was all I needed. To me, a time extension that meager had 100 times greater effect than to anyone else. Moreover, throwing such a large block allowed me to bend the vector of my horizontal flight. It had won me the opportunity to launch a momentary counterattack. I evaded his interceptive blows and mustered all of the springing power in my body to release a kick. My posture prevented me from using my right arm, but the situation didn't allow me such luxuries. My earnest, mid-air roundhouse kick went straight into Machina's temporal region, creating a shockwave that went throughout his whole cranium. But then... I felt something strange. The moment I came back to my senses, I watched Machina as he was blasted away and crashed into a mountain of rubble. What? My footing became unsteady, like an earthquake had just occurred. I couldn't tell if my blow had been fatal, but an attack that powerful couldn't have left him unscathed. I hoped that put him to sleep. The thought of him getting up was downright harrowing. I was trembling. The numbness spreading across my whole body was accompanied by a sensation that came to shivers. It wasn't mere excitement or invigoration. The feeling was definitely real. It stifled the chills caused by the rumbling magic circle up above, and the worry for my allies who were fighting the other battalion commanders. I had neither the time nor the composure to think about such things. I, the person known as Ren Fuji, dreaded the situation before me. The core of my being screamed at me to avoid any battle with the somber knight. However, the origin of the irrational emotion didn't lie in Machina's menacing strength. My guts had been pushed so far that I was beyond the reach of fears based on power difference alone, which meant that the sensation was something else entirely. I didn't fear the risks of pain or death, but the very truth behind this battle. The thought of being made aware of it was making me tremble with dread. Suddenly, the mountain of rubble became dust, scattering in the wind. Whoa! Whoa! Oh! Oh! Suddenly Terminator! I could see his figure, clad in a jet black SS uniform and shadowing the remains of his destructive power. Negredo's dark eyes focused on me in a way that filled me with deja vu. The scenery before me felt somehow familiar, as though I had seen this man's battle-ready posture before. I shook my head in denial. I couldn't waste time thinking about this. I had to focus solely on how much of a threat my opponent was. I might have failed to hit him with my guillotine, but the power in my kick was nothing to scoff at. Nonetheless, he appeared to have sustained no injuries whatsoever. The somber knight cracked his neck. His cheeks were torn here and there, but I could easily tell that it was barely an injury. "'Tis but a flesh wound." After all, what I saw revealed beneath his skin didn't even belong to a human. What the hell is wrong with him? Look at my name, boy. It's literally Machina. Also, I don't think my teeth properly align with my mouth. That or maybe I'm just doing that weird little thing where I just kind of casually push my mouth up a little bit, but I'm pretty sure my teeth don't align there. Actually, who knows? I might have myself a second row. Okay, you're kind of getting weird, dude. Skin that didn't leak a drop of blood. Fresh flesh and bone knit from nothing but iron. I thought only his hands were artificial, but I was dead wrong. Actually, shit, maybe that is placed correctly. I'm not touching my face, you can't prove it. His whole body was made of iron. Negredo was like a humanoid tank. On a physical level, not a single inch of him was human. He abandoned everything that made him a person, which likely included his brain. The hell was he saying? There was no way I could have known this guy. So why did he say otherwise? The Iron Monster regarded me with dim eyes. It was the gaze of someone looking into a mirror, replete with pity, envy, and dispassion. What was he saying? Just saying, we could have kind of had this conversation over some tea, but you just had to throw a hissy fit and try to find me, but maybe I don't want to tell you now. Nigurdo looked up at the magic circle engulfing the vast sky. With all the openings on him, it was the perfect chance to go in for an attack, but for some reason I found myself unable to take the first step. While a part of me wanted to ignore every word he spoke, another part was eager to hear him out.
そういえば、まだ名乗っていなかったな。無意味だが、言っておこう。清掃13騎士団、黒煙卓第7位。
7. If my memory didn't fail me, that was the seat I took when facing Reinhard in the hall beneath the church.
大隊長、ゲッツ・フォン・ベルリヒンゲン。他の者らは、マキナと呼ぶが、どちらでも構わん。お前も好きにすればいい。俺は7度、どうでもいいのだ。
It was likely because he didn't even remember it. Oh, fuck! His barrage of destructive fists left me thoroughly cornered, with every attack gradually wearing away at my psyche. But then... Though I found myself overwhelmed and perplexed by a myriad of questions and emotions, my mouth, as if it didn't belong to me, moved on its own, urging him to continue.
やはり気になるか。それは確かにそうだろうな。俺はお前に正直同情しているよ。渇望に食われて単一思考しかできなくなったものなど人ではない。俺よりもお前の方がそうした意味でよっぽど負に寄っている。知っているぞ。繰り返したいんだろう。
I was at a loss for words. How did this guy know that?
行くべき戻る場所。前のめり駆け抜けてたどり着く過去など矛盾だ。理屈が立たないと子供でもわかる。故に地平は直線でなく円。星と同じく回る円環。そこを何周でも回り続ける。早く早く甘美な今、愛しい過去を無限に味わい続けるため、未来を超速で駆け抜けつつ吹き飛ばす。失踪する停滞。お前の渇望はそれだろう。よく知っているよ。
I'm not sure if I kind of pointed this out, but I just... I'm pretty sure it's painfully obvious at this point. Like, Machina wants what Ren has, but Ren kind of wants what Machina kind of has. One is going through repetition, but hates it. But the other one requires that repetition, and kind of vice... I'm giving myself a bit of a headache on this, but you guys see what I'm kind of saying, right? Interesting. I tried to speak, but no words would come. He described me with a kind of thoroughness and precision I wasn't confident I could muster. He was completely right. I dashed forward because I wished to return to those days gone by. That was repetition, plain and simple. If life was but a loop, I journeyed through the world while skipping anything but Japan. If such a feat was possible, it would be no less than equal to staying in one place.
俺はそうした旅に産んでいてな。別の停止に疲れたのだ。すなわち。
Uh-oh. He tightened the grip on his iron fists. They creaked, as if screaming for him to shatter and end it all. I subconsciously evaded the fist he launched at me. though not through reflex. It felt more like I'd known his attack from before. Prediction would not be the word to describe it. Perception might have been closer, though not quite on the mark either. Could it possibly be foreknowledge? While I fearlessly avoided his all-ending blows, he too was easily dodging my wide-reaching guillotine slashes. Oh. There is so many goddamn thumbnails. God, this novel is good. Despite our attacks missing only by a hair's breadth, neither of us felt like we could land a hit on the other. Though an outside observer would have likely found our continuous struggle to be no less than a clash of demigods, we were stuck in a stagnant deadlock. We could keep going for another decade without being able to land a single hit on the other. He and I were too alike, and our fight felt more like shadowboxing with one's reflection. A decisive blow wouldn't occur anytime soon. The hell? How could this be happening? The longer it went on, the more synchronized we became. However, I couldn't even tell if I was the one getting close to Machina or if he was the one approaching my level. I was the one with more moves. Considering the nature of my ability, I would likely be the victor in terms of speed and offensive output. Machina, on the other hand, had more tact than I, proven by the fact that he had yet to yield to my attacks. Things were not looking good. The equilibrium would collapse the moment I became unable to maintain my speed. For every 10 attacks I made, he returned only 2 or 3. That very balance acted as the scales keeping the deadlock alive. If my attacks were to fall below 8, the situation would instantly shift in his favor. Thus, making the ground shatter under my feet, I accelerated while thoroughly ignoring my creaking bones and the burning sensation in my muscles and psyche. It wasn't a situation that allowed me to even consider leaving any spare energy. Though my body was already overflowing with adrenaline, I forced it to produce even more, enough to make my brain pop. Oh shit, I think my brain just popped. Marie, help! Blood began to trickle and burst out of my ears, nose, and mouth. Son of a bitch, his brain did pop. The capillaries in my eyes ruptured, making me cry sanguine tears. Accelerating further still could mean death, but I didn't mind. Limits were meant to be crossed. After all, if I couldn't pull through something this meager, no amount of struggle would align me with Reinhard. This walking tank needed to piss off already. Unlike him, I still had a future to look forward to. Right as I began to accelerate beyond my limits, ignoring the tremendous pain ravaging my body. Machina crushed my leg with a step that made the ground cave in. He went for the leg that was meant to act as the pivot, bursting me into acceleration. As I'd only ever seen Machina attack with his fists, I never once considered he'd launch any other type of attack. It was a critical oversight on my part, brought about by my pitiful surge of panic. However, I didn't think there were many people who in my situation could predict such a move from him. The somber night was close enough for our shoulders to touch. However, such slight deviations from his optimal distance didn't mean anything to him. A single blow would mark my demise. No one with a story to tell could fight against the fists of he who ended all tales. Machina twisted his upper body and created an opportunity for him to launch his fist at me. With my leg held down by his, I was unable to evade it. It was over. He'd hit me for sure. Probably won't ever be the last.
俺はドライチェーンの天秤。クラフトの筋書きを左右させる権利を持つ。
The curtain was about to fall on my life.
アウフ・ブリーダーズン、カメラード。俺たちの戦場はこれで終わりだ。
Oh, Scheiße.
共に真のバルハラへ行こう。
His all-ending fist crashed and burst through my heart. Cracks appeared on my torso as I felt my body begin to shatter like glass. No way. Damn it. Was this really the end?
Mari.
Forgive me. Failed to fulfill any of my promises. Huh? Within my fading consciousness, I heard a voice of denial. My rapidly collapsing mind had been enveloped by a fleeting dream. But with an ending like this, none of that really mattered. I was afraid. My heart ached. I was perfectly fine with pain, and I wasn't afraid of dying. However, I didn't think I could bear letting go of Marie's hand. The girl felt the same way. She also had something to say to him. A whisper meant to utter a certain truth. That's the part of the reason why you can even feel it, or I guess you can feel stuff. Because Reinhard just poked you with his lance. All she had received so far was flowing out through the wound opened by the holy lance. It was neither a leak nor loss, but the peculiar sensation of spreading out to fill the vicinity, as if she had begun embracing all creation. A treasure worth protecting, its light gentle. A precious jewel slumbering deep within the sea of the everyday. Couldn't be allowed to fade. She begged him to stay alive and make her dream come true. Marie came to realize that even her hands could hold something. It would all be okay. She could feel them, cherish them, no matter how far her reach would grow.
Oh.
Hi. As they looked down from the magic circle etched onto the canopy of the heavens, the beast's golden eyes squinted with delight. A ripple across the fabric of space conveyed the incorporeal Mercury's own sentiments. The reply was only a snicker, displayed right before they joined in delivering a chant. It was not but celebratory.
Oh. 至福もたらす奇跡の見業よ。
'Tis a miracle wrought of bliss supreme.
汝の傷を塞いだ槍から聖なる血が流れ出す。
From the lance that healed thy wounds, poureth life blood most divine. The time had come.
このゲットは破壊され。
次なる新世界へと超越するのだ。
Huh? Scoozy? A certain event was occurring several minutes before the miracle came alive. After all, everything was happening at the same time. Because of course it was! It was reasonable to call it a coincidence. No one intended or expected it. However, such fortuities had always resulted from the acclamation of inevitabilities. Indeed, nothing was without meaning. Every single action of all the actors taking part in the final battle had summoned the inevitable coincidence. Thus, going back in time was necessary to make the truth more obvious and evident. Okay, fine. It had to be made clear and certain that the invisible hand of God was not involved in any of this. Good. The will of humanity was inviolable. He had not interfered.
何もしないことを選択したのだ。
Carl Croft produced a faint smirk. Okay. Kay could hear the clang of the blade. Her eyes perceived the bursting sparks. And though only barely, even her nose was still healthy enough to pick up the reek of scorched flesh. However... Whoa! Whoa, my God! Holy shit! That shit is... Oh my God. I'm sorry, I just got stunned. I can't even come up with anything witty to say about that. That just stunned me. The sensation on her tongue as she raised a cry of resolve was already gone. Her mouth may have been intact, but she had long since lost the feeling associated with vocalization. Pain had almost disappeared as well. Her left arm had been enveloped by flames, her right knee joint reduced to cinders. The fact that it had yet to break was a miracle in itself. Caught in the crimson blaze, Kay's hair and face had both lost their original state. Her battlefield was one of a scorching inferno. Eleanor turned the surroundings into a piratic hell the very moment the fight began. Even the iron frame of the bridge began to melt. The way it distorted like toffee and slowly collapsed under its own weight was nothing short of mystical. Had Kay been her old self, Eleanor's hellfire would have likely consumed her without mercy. The flames of the Crimson Knightess far surpassed the girls, both in terms of quality and intensity. Eleanor once said that all fires would be consumed by any greater blaze, and she wasn't wrong in the least. The Inferno, under Rubido's command, was a dimension above the flame wielded by Kay. Challenging her back then would be akin to raising a lighter before a nuclear blast. Very accurate. Thus, she went for the optimal choice. If the girl was to stand against the woman, she would have to raise her endurance, to become an Einrayar capable of continuing the fight even with scorched limbs and a body gone numb. Otherwise, she would have been defeated in a single strike. The battlefield was much like Muspelheim. You mean the raging inferno hell? A realm of hellfire evaporating all in its path. No, technically it's actually quite warm. If you want to go cold, I recommend going to Niflheim. Despite that, the Crimson Rubido had yet to break a sweat, proudly implying that the battle was only now beginning. She even went so far as to label the situation chilly. To her, it was dull beyond description. Eleanor's ice-cold glare stood in sharp contrast with the raging heat she had summoned. The woman hadn't gone on the offensive ever since launching the first shot. She deflected Kay's blade with her bare hands without looking the least bit cornered. The flames flowing all around Rubido were but a side effect of her moving her limbs, an unconscious act no different from sending dust in the air, whirling about as one exhaled. For Kay to be burned by an act so trivial meant she was less than an insect compared to Eleanor.
Panzer!
Okay, bring in the Panzer tank! A spear-like firearm abruptly materialized behind Eleanor, its tip shot towards Kay, digging into her solar plexus before exploding.
Feuer!
The rocket, fired from point-blank range, blew Kay away, making her release a spray of blood. The sheer impact from the attack thoroughly destroyed a number of her internal organs. She crawled on all fours, making her fingers sink into the tar of the melting asphalt. The bloody vomit she spewed evaporated before even touching the road. The inferno surrounding the girl made her bodily fluids boil with an audible hiss.
無駄に頑強だな。風穴を開けてやるつもりだった。
The Panzerfaust was never designed to be used as a penetrative weapon, but in Rubido's hands, its original purpose, it didn't matter one bit. Whatever the case, it was nothing for Kay to worry about. Being able to ignore all pain and injury, she could continue fighting as long as her opponent didn't evaporate her in one hit. Thus, she went on the offensive in a seemingly suicidal charge. She would never give up.
イノシシだな。まるで。
Okay, Felix. Eleanor looked down on Kay in a disinterested manner before effortlessly evading the girl's downward slash, then launching a kick of her own as a counterattack. Kay was sent flying backwards once more, but not without a little gift from Rubido to go along with it. The woman nonchalantly snapped her fingers, summoning a midair explosion. Caught up in the blast, Kay was making somersaults as she fell into the burning sea of tar. And right before she sank,
Tate!
over 20 Schmeisers opened fire on her. The barrage made the wavy tar splash, creating countless fiery droplets that contributed to the scorching hell around them. Christ! She's brutal! That's an understatement. Never mind. I'm an idiot. Eleanor's ability warranted no surprise in particular. Though people were limited to only one Amantes, certain others, like Rusalka, carried a set of objects belonging to a single concept. While the witch's Amantes, now in Shiro's hands, was an assembly of torture devices, Eleonora carried a collection of firearms. Her arsenal rivaled the firepower of an entire army. She had it all. Landmines, assault rifles, hand grenades, anti-tank, and even anti-air guns. In terms of size, the Amantes, acting as her core, couldn't be matched by anyone at the Obsidian Table. Their weapon was a marvel of tactical arms that easily surpassed the concept of items carried on one's person. It was an absurdly large piece of artillery that moved with the army itself, and required several thousand personnel to operate at full capacity. As such, being able to summon a multitude of firearms would only be natural. This were no mere battle, but an all-out war. The valor of a single person meant nothing before tens of thousands of guns all locked, loaded, and ready to fire. Basically, Eleonora had no intention of pretending to duel someone as lowly as Kay.
雑人バラに剣など抜かん。らしく揉みつぶされるのが似合いだろ。気に食わぬなら盾をこむすんで。達者なのは口だけか。
Whoa. Christ, Kay. You're fucking durable. Well, I mean, it's also kind of because the weapon she's... Shut up, Sabata. Just be quiet. Enjoy the madness. Kay somehow got out of the burning sea of tar and rose to her feet. No expression could begin to describe the state of her body. She had already been robbed of about 70% of her soul. Her sense of touch and smell were almost completely gone, and even her sight began to grow hazy. He wasn't certain about her hearing either. But this was...
通りです。
何？
Hmm? The girl's nonsensical utterance made Eleanor knit her brows. Had the cur lost her mind? She had planned to suffer injuries that severe? Even jests and stupidity had their limits.
そんな余裕はないはずだがな。
Kay knew that she was living on borrowed time. She intended to kill Eleanor before their false lance devoured her consciousness. But alas, all her attempts were in vain. Kay was unable to even deliver a single hit, let alone defeat the Crimson Knightess. In the meantime, her soul continued to be devoured by a steady pace, inevitably marching towards oblivion. Logically speaking, Kay could afford neither the time nor the patience to hold a conversation with her opponent. The rational choice was to greedily use every single moment to focus on a headlong onslaught, as she'd been doing until now. However, she simply stood still, silent as the night. Her whole body was covered in burns, with most of her soul plundered. To say she looked half dead would have been generous. As she would perish regardless of what anyone did, Kay had no palpable reason to be wasting her time.
ザミエル卿、私はあなたの美意識にそぐいませんか？
Kay's question made Eleanor fall silent and look at her with doubtful eyes. Though the woman was a passionate character, she also had a sophisticated eye for tactics. Her mind wouldn't allow her to fall for half-baked plots. Rubido observed, conjectured, analyzed, and ascertained, leading her to conclude that the girl before her was a complete idiot who merely wanted to speak her last words in a complaint. With that in mind, she decided to play along with her final howl.
続けてみろ。
まずこちらの質問に答えてください。
私の美意識だったか
Yeah? Eleonora silently chuckled.
ああ、そうだ。貴様は私の美意識に抵触するよ。率直に言ってヘドが出る。
なぜです？
なぜだと？愚問だよ。戦場を知らぬからだ。
Eleanor's words weren't meant to be taken as a metaphor. She couldn't stomach a single bit of Kay's struggle in background.
数百かそこら血を浴びたからなんだ。友や家族を失ったからどうしたという。そんなものは貧困の国にでも行けば日常の光景だろう。土人や機民の所業であり、泣き言に過ぎん。戦場は兵士の本分をわきまえた者にしか理解できない。焼け出され人生を喪失した女子供は哀れだが、そうした者らが分け知り顔で語ることを私は許さん。決して認めん。クリストフもブレンナーも、そして貴様も分かっていない者とはそうした同輩のことを言う。貴様らの抜かすことはいつもこれだ。愛を取り戻したい。罪を償う。ほざけよ、水管まがいのたわけどもが。だから戦場を知らぬと言っているのだ。兵士は死者の蘇生など求めはせん。いかにして己は死なず、いかにして他者を殺し続けるか。我々はそれだ。戦場とはその原理だ。背後の死体に取りすがって泣いているような貴様らは兵士でないゆえに戦場を理解していない。わかるか？だから払うのだよ。
In her eyes, they were but frauds, participating in their exalted crusade by accident, tainting it with their foolish conduct. Thus, they deserve to be wiped out, to be embraced by flames, their senses intoxicated by the tragedy they so cherished.
泣くのが好きなのだ。
The girl probably thrived on indulging in the self-consolation derived from her own sins and powerlessness.
ヘドが出る。
The very thought of such filth acting like soldiers disgusted her to no end.
だからバビロンを。
そうだ。
ゲイカを。
無論。
そして私を。
ああ、よくわかっているじゃないか。
Eleanor's features seemed almost gentle as she sounded a faint chuckle. She doubtlessly believed that the end she granted the girl and her kind was a blessing, a perfect fit for them. They longed to play the leading roles of tragedies, and she was simply kind enough to grant their wish. Needless to say, their stories would all end with death.
これは衛生上の問題だ。貴様らは臭い。生かしてはおけない。
Rubido spoke in a tone cold as ice, fit for someone about to exterminate a pest.
剣など抜く価値もない。一掃するだけだ。貴様らなどはな。
She held Kay in contempt and saw her as filth, base and trifling beyond any measure. In her mind, the girl didn't deserve to see her true power.
なるほど。よくわかりました。
However, even in the face of such vicious abuse, Kay did nothing but silently nod, almost as if she hadn't even heard the words. The girl, too, was a passionate personality, definitely not the type to keep her temper after having her whole life denied right in front of her. Despite her appearance, Kay's entire being should have been seething with indignation.
私は戦場を知らないと。確かにその通りなんでしょうね。
And yet, the stillness in her voice was not forced in the least, inside or outside. She was perfectly calm on both fronts.
ですがザミエル卿、私は別に戦士気取りなんかしていませんよ。
The girl was only desperate and acted with no heed to good or evil.
むしろあなたたちが迷惑です。たかが殺し合いに栄光だの誇りだの つまらない美辞麗句を装飾して、それが素晴らしいものであるかのように仕立て上げる。
I mean, he's not wrong.
悲しいんですよ、奪われると。苦しいんですよ、奪うのも。私もそれをばらまいてきたバカです。戦場とやら嫌いです。ええ、あなたの美意識に抵触して結構嬉しいですね。一緒にされたくありません。あなた方のような人種が人類のガンだ。
Damn. To people like Eleanor, hellish battlefields are but stages for them to shine on. And anyone who didn't flourish by their side had no value as human beings. Truly a troublesome kind. Nothing good can come from such a mentality.
効率的な殺人以外、あなたは何の役にも立たないのでしょう。パンを焼くこともできない。
Shit, that's one way to burn him. Nor did the woman know how to love.
無能は誰ですか、ザミエル卿。世界に居場所がなくなったのはあなた方がくだらない戦争屋だからですよ。限られたサブカルチャーしか知らなくて、その話ばかりをするから敬遠される空気読めない人たちと変わりませんね。自分の世界はすごいのだと盲信して叫び続けなければ呼吸すらできない。すべてをその色に染めないと誰からも有用とされない自分が歪小すぎるから立っていられない。私が悲劇に酔っているならあなたは血と戦火に酔っている。まあ両方バカでしょうが、あえて言うなら頭おかしいのはどっちでしょうかね。見苦しくて迷惑なのは誰ですか。
Damn. And if sanitary reasons mattered to her, which one of them was the real trash?
こちらこそヘドが出る。
The very thought of such filth acting like people disgusted her to no end. Kay's retort made Eleanor laugh. She was reasonably impressed by what the girl had said.
面白いな。ブレンナーあたりが言いそうだ。いや結構少し懐かしい気持ちに浸れたよ。雑魚の論理はいつ聞いても天下が軸に座っている。要するにこういうことだろう。私に優しくしてくれない者が悪い。甘ったれて恥を知らず感情のままにわめき散らす女子供の上等だ。してみればこの国の者らは本質を捉える目があるな。知っているだろう。天下という言葉は転んだ嫁と書くらしい。それはあれだ。女が災難に遭えばそういう行為に走ると言っているのか。考えたやつはどうしてシャレのわかるやつのようだな。
あなたも女のようですけど。
I don't know, just the way that's said. Well, you appear to be a woman. I don't know, are you?
一緒にするなよ。
The woman grinned while denying ever being the same kind of creature as the girl.
さて、ともかく望み通りに話に付き合ってやったわけだが、そろそろ教えてくれぬかな。いい時間など稼いだところでどうにもならぬのは知っているだろう。
If anything, the passing of time only worked against her. During their conversation, everything below Kay's neck had turned cadaverous.
私は貴様の諦めの悪さだけを評価しているつもりだよ。第7でそう言っただろう。
ええ、学校で覚えています。
How could Kay forget? It was where she desperately charged at Eleanor and was defeated in but a moment. But that was exactly why.
少し確認がしたかったのです。それはもう済みました。あなたの気象を正確に把握することと、それから私も。
なんだ。
いえ、とにかく次が最後です。
Oh? Kay fixed her posture and bent her body in a way that would allow her to charge towards Eleanor in a single bound, prompting the woman to ready herself. She still didn't know what the girl was planning, but none of it actually mattered. Rubido would easily blast her away with the following strike.
そういえば先ほど天下がどうだと言っていました。
While standing on the scorching bridge, Kay made a wry smile as she prepared to kick the sea of burning coal tar and dash towards Rubido.
あなただってハイドリヒ教の価値観に気持ちを転化しているじゃないですか。
A thunderous cannon flash acted as the signal for Kay to begin her fervent dash.
惚れた男の言うことは何でも正しく間違いないってずいぶん安っぽい女ですね。
Oh! Since the beast was essentially an amalgam of hell and war, Eleanor began to glorify those things.
くどんなのはどっちだ。
Eleanor's actions rivaled the foolishness of a woman who took up smoking simply because their lover did.
人のことを小娘小娘って。
Clearly, the woman was the true callow brat.
その年で心まで処女だなんて終わってるのよ。
The scorching artillery fire approached with no hint of stopping, even in case current state taking it head-on could easily wipe her from existence. Thus, with her speed having reached new heights, she continued dodging it. Infused with electricity, the false lance began to flicker. Just like Tubal Cain, Kay began displaying lightning-fast movements. It wasn't accidental. By letting the lance consume more than 90% of her body, the girl became capable of calling forth Cain's abilities. That was the first part of her plan. Kay dodged the demonic cannons and rode the speed to get to Eleanor's side. It was no doubt the final burst before her demise. However, it was far from enough. If one could turn the tides of battle with suicidal resolve alone, the concept of defeat would cease to exist. That was where the second part of her plan came in. The girl was being greeted by a menacing curtain of machine guns. Eleanor said that she wouldn't draw her sword on any lowly filth, instead choosing to purge them like pests by using a limited amount of her power. Kay used Rubido's own disposition to seal her blade and prevent the woman from using her ultimate ability. The girl used their conversation to provoke her. Now that Eleanor had actually said she wouldn't go all out, her pride would make sure she wouldn't, even if her life was in danger. Kay confirmed her to be that type of person. And that was where the third part, the deciding move, came in. It was a combination of the first and second parts, and it couldn't be done without either of them succeeding. She evaded the first attack and got next to Eleanor with swiftness that numbed the woman's reaction speed. Next, Kay prevented Rubido from using any skills she couldn't deal with. With those two conditions fulfilled, she could land at least one attack on her. The only problem was if it would actually be fatal. The Schmeiser bullet barrage whittled her whole body. Any attempts at dodging would reduce her propulsive power, so she had no choice but to break through while ignoring any hits. Bullets were piercing her shoulder, boring into her stomach, blowing away her chest, and breaking away her cheeks. Despite it all, she relentlessly continued her onwards march without any hint of stopping. Kay figured she must have looked worse than a shambling corpse from some horror film. Kay hoped it wasn't too uncomely. At the end of the day, she was still a woman. Having a visage that made her dread looking in the mirror would have been shameful. After being told that her face was a certain someone's type, Kay even began to consider cosmetics. She'd probably go for red lipstick. The color pink appealed to her as well, but she felt something overly cutesy wouldn't suit her. The girl made a bitter smile despite knowing she had already given up.
何を期待してるの。本当バカだよ。
She had already resolved to never return. What happened to that determination? Maybe she got shot in the head and lost part of her brain?
だって私。
She still thought of going to the party at the rooftop. Kay finally broke through the gun barrage and reached Eleanor. She was right before her with nothing between them. She focused on a single point and began acting out the third part of her plan. Eleanor herself was once told her to surpass her bloodlust, and that a weaker force would be foolish to assume a crane wing formation. The girl would heed that very advice in order to claim her opponent's life. She was now a spearhead formation breaking into Rubido's crane wing. For the sake of purging worthless filth, the woman took up that formation at the cost of her own density. Thus, Kay could reach the core of the soul that commanded the army. Eleanor gazed in shock as the Wellisburg Longinus charged electricity dug into her face with a violent burst of lightning. Unable to kill the momentum of her dash, Kay fell to the ground. That single blow drained her of all energy. She couldn't even muster the strength to stand up. Was it effective, though? Did she succeed? Was Kay's best enough to defeat her opponent? What was the result? Eleanor covered her face as her shoulders trembled in anguish. The blood flowing through her fingers stood as clear proof of her injury. However... Yeah, I kinda had a feeling she wouldn't get killed by that. Also, holy shit! The scorching pillar of fire that burst to life with Rubido's angered howl was an unmistakable display of her prowess, still very much intact. No effect. Kay had put her life on the line to unleash an attack that ultimately did nothing more than anger the Crimson Rubido. Since the right side of her face was still covered by her hand, the gravity of the injury remained uncertain, yet it clearly wasn't fatal. Therefore, her fate had been sealed. Kay could no longer ever dream of turning the tides. It was impossible. She knew that better than anyone. Her plan succeeded, and her blade reached its target, yet...
甘く見るなよ。この程度しのげんで何がハイドリヒ教のエインフェリアだ。何が不死の英雄だ。貴様ごときの命などで私は取れん。のぼせ上がるな。
The tip of the false lance began to crack and break up, which meant that Eleanor took the blow with nothing but raw endurance. Even though the girl had aimed at a spot low in density, Eleanor came out without a fatal injury and even broke the lance just by bearing the attack. Her awe-inspiring undeath made her truly unworthy of being truly worthy of being among Valhalla's Einars. I'm forgetting how to English because of this. Kay couldn't think of anything she could do to fight the Crimson Knightess. The woman's prowess was simply far too overwhelming. Her voice was burning with rage as the space behind her began to boil. Swaying like a heat haze, it gradually gave form to the greatest artillery in history. Oh boy! She wasn't evoking her creation figment, for unsheathing and showing her sword to a lowly and trifling whelp meant humiliation far worse than death. The girl had to be thoroughly evaporated with no trace left behind. Conceited filth were meant to become just another part of the numerous riffraff erased by her weapon. Eleanor only showed her world to those she deemed heroic. She knew that the only things of true value were the stars nobly shining high above in the skies. The foolish cur standing before Rubido lacked the radiance needed to scorch her. The colossal artillery, queen of the hunt. Also, Die Freischutz. Oh boy. Oh! 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 It materialized in all of its enormity, trampling over space itself as it awed Kay into silence. Size beyond description. Absurdity that spoke for itself. The very existence of such an object made Kay lose her grip on sanity. She knew what it was, but her brain refused to understand. A shot from that monstrous cannon would not only kill Kay, but severely damage Yusa and Fuji as well. Uh-oh.
土台何をしようが逃げられん。私の方は絶対に外れんのだ。
Railway gun. Dora lowered and rotated its 80 centimeter barrel towards Kay, who was lying on the ground. The abrupt materialization of the overwhelming mass made the burning, melting bridge sway with great intensity. It seemed like it could collapse at any moment. Eleanor, however, paid no mind to it, instead allowing her fury free reign, choosing to annihilate all around her.
10 9 8 7
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The girl's sense of hearing, ruined and dominated by jarring noise, was still able to pick up that mortal countdown. When it reached 0, the whole area would be drowned in fierce flames of perdition, and all would be mercilessly consumed.
嫌だ。
Kay didn't even realize how teary her voice had become. She was fine with dying. Throughout her life, the girl brought death upon countless people. She wasn't hoping for a convenient ending and was perfectly capable of accepting death as punishment for all she had done. However, Kay couldn't stop thinking about the others. She hated the three. Everything about them rubbed her the wrong way. They were nothing but a bunch of annoying idiots. But that was exactly why they worried her to no end. Kay didn't want a single one of them to die.
お願い。
She didn't know who she was pleading, nor what she was clinging to. Even so, the girl willed her now cadaverous body into movement. In her hands, she held the Wellisberg Longinus, the false lance on the verge of shattering.
力を貸して。
It was the final move in her vain struggle. She knew it to be useless. No miracle would grace her through tears and prayer alone. However, Kay couldn't just give up. She wanted to believe she was herself until her very final breath. The girl brandished the blade, readying herself to throw it. Kay couldn't infuse it with power, nor did she believe that a perfect throw could pierce through Rubido. There was no way a lance that battered could penetrate her armor. She believed.
助けて。いいさ。ベアトリス。
Kay launched their heirloom.
ツバイアインス
The moment right before the Queen of the Hunt opened fire.
ニブルヘイムベンリス・ボルフ
Oh boy!
共に真のバルハラへ行こう。
The Obsidian Table were about to grasp a flawless victory. With the end of their opponents, the battlefields would sing the glory of the champions. Everything was happening at the same time, without even a momentary difference. It was reasonable to call it a coincidence. No one intended, or expected it. However, such fortuities had always resulted from the acclamation of inevitabilities. Nothing was without meaning. Accumulation, sorry. What was I saying acclamation? I'm an idiot. Every single action of all the actors taking part in the final battle had summoned the inevitable coincidence. Thus...
おお、至福もたらす奇跡の見業よ。 汝の傷を塞いだ槍から聖なる血が流れ出す。
私がみんなを抱きしめるから。
Okay. Another hegemony began to emanate. Eleanor found herself confused by the unknown spectacle. It was far too sudden and downright ridiculous. Oh! Oh! Blood gushed out of her neck. The wound given to her by Marie's touch had reopened, and she, the immortal Rubido, now had a fatal injury. Like the twilight, Einarjars were creatures capable of repeatedly and endlessly coming back to life. Eleanor would revive as long as Reinhard existed, but that didn't mean it was impossible to kill her. and this was the very first death ever experienced by the woman. Thus, she failed to process it, momentarily losing herself in bewilderment and blank amazement. The wound closed and vanished in but an instant back then, so why, after all this time? Why did it suddenly reopen? It got cut. That unexplainable burst of blood made Eleanor shift her attention from Kay's throw. The Wellsberg Longinus dug into the wound and nearly pierced Eleanor's neck. No, it was... The outer layer of the cursed lance cracked to reveal something else. A knightly blade, clad in a silver gleam. Kay was as shocked as Eleanor. Both the sudden abnormality in the Crimson Woman and the presence of her blade within the lance perplexed the girl to no end. Not to mention the mysterious feeling that had overwhelmed her just a moment ago. She thought it to have been her mind playing tricks, but the results were absolutely real. The instant during which she hurled the lance and it reached its target, Kay felt as though time itself had stopped. This wasn't merely a case of her senses sharpening in the face of imminent danger. After all, the lance she threw was moving through halted time at a normal speed. Without the standstill, the chances of the Crimson Woman dodging the attack would have been unreasonably high. Only with the aid of halted time could Kay's strike connect. Oh! Nonetheless, neither of them could fully grasp the nature of that phenomenon.
どうやら私たちの勝ちみたいです。サミエル卿。
Kay believed she had won. And Eleanor accepted her defeat.
まあ、構わんす。ハイドリヒ卿は誰にも負けん。
You know, if my channel even had monetization in the first place, this got so goddamn Oh my god! This might actually be one of the most brutal, maybe not the most brutal, but this is definitely in the list of the most brutal sieges I think I've ever witnessed.
図に乗るなよ、小娘。バルハラで会えば、次こそ消し潰してやろう。
Even as her whole body became drenched in scarlet, Rubido formed an indomitable smile. Despite this conclusion being wrought about by what could easily be labeled as a deceptive attack, the Crimson Knightess didn't seem the least bit disgruntled. It was a clear display of pride fit for those who deemed themselves champions. For the first time ever, Eleanor made Kay harbor a feeling akin to respect. Which was all the more reason why she couldn't allow herself to act lowly. Kay and those at her side had emerged victorious, a reality to take pride in.
もう二度とあなたの顔は見たくないと言ったはずです。
Both the woman and the girl believed in the victory of the men they dedicated their blades to. Neither of them doubted that feeling and embraced it with absolute, unshakable certainty.
面白い。実に面白かったぞ。いい戦場だった。次は貴様を騎士と認め、私も剣を抜いてやろう。忘れるな。
だから。
Realizing that repeating herself wouldn't help, Kay decided to say something else.
逃げますから、私。勝手に追いかけていればいいでしょう。
Eleanor burst into laughter. The agony burning her body filled her with overwhelming mirth. The woman had always sought what she could never reach. Be it fierce pain or merciless thirst, they were but dear, blazing passions that lovingly scorched her. The girl could run, but the woman would chase her for all eternity. For the moment, however, Rubido accepted that her wax wings had melted.
なあ、キルヒアイゼン。
She held the blade forced into her neck and instantly pulled it to the side. As the railway cannon began to lose its corporeal form, Eleonora's head fell right on top of it.
シークハイル。恩義に勝利を。ハイドリヒ教。
Shit! With Rubido's death, Sudahara's bridge finally gave out under the pressure and collapsed with a violent rumble. The crimson hell of Muspelheim ended with an explosion that greedily devoured Kay.
じゃあ、私も本当に
There was no hope for her.
見てるからね。絶対勝って負けないで。
Aww. The sunlit bliss of her younger days returned to her mind. Her heroes, the two knights who received all her love and trust. She wanted to become like them, powerful and dazzling. Despite knowing it was her own naive, innocent wish that brought about all this, she never regretted it, and felt proud enough to think. She was truly grateful to them for being her heroes right until the very end.
大好き。
A certain dream came back to her. A vision of a world where she walked the city streets as just another student. Embraced by dream and flames alike, Kay fell, vanishing alongside the collapsing bridge. And
今デジャブが
ない。
it completely disappeared. Not only that, but
こんなの。
俺は知らない。
what they experienced was without a doubt unknown. The moment Albedo evoked his creation figment, the chain, their lifeline, shattered and released them into the deadly skies. Schreiber's rule was meant to keep him untouched and uncatchable, so the distance between them would only grow greater. Thus, the chain was pulverized, and the devilish wolf, freed from the bindings of Gleipnir, would create a sanguine storm. That was what should have happened. However, it didn't. And the fact it was an impossibility qualified it as the unknown. Schreiber's back was closing in. The 1 meter distance they thought was infinite closed in an appropriately short moment. The Ashen Knight didn't seem to notice or perceive them at all. It was almost as if his time had stopped. When Schreiber suddenly entered a standstill, Shido and Ellie, dragged by him at supersonic speeds, quickly rammed into his back.
酸欠。
The bike now had Schreiber, Shido, and Ellie on it. 3 people on a single bike caused crashes. The condition for the jinx had been fulfilled. Shido pulled the trigger and released a bullet that pierced Schreiber's back and went straight into the fuel tank. Fire, gasoline, and magic mixed and merged to create a fierce explosion. Accompanied by a thunderous burst, the ruined amusement park was engulfed by a ring of fire. The strange sensation was already gone. They no longer felt like time had stopped, nor could they perceive the unknown that came along with it. However, they were absolutely certain of its reality. They didn't know the reasoning or the specific causes behind it. Apparently, it's a goddamn miracle! Not like any of that really mattered. The important thing was that, no matter how momentary and fleeting, they finally achieved what they had sought. And with it, victory. After all, Schreiber, surrounded by the remains of his Vannergarde, was shaking with anguish. Albedo was a maddened speedster who evaded all attacks and couldn't be caught by anyone. And yet he had received a fatal injury. The bullet pierced his back and destroyed his Ananerabe, bringing a halt to the dash he thought to be unstoppable. Schreiber had been defeated, with Shiro emerging victorious. No one could deny that. The Ashen Knight's body was covered in wounds and drenched in sanguine red, his misplaced eye patch revealing the emptiness underneath. All that he had swallowed and ravaged were forced into that void as feeble attempts to make up for what he had lost as a person. It was the endless hunger that drove him to continue his murderous dash. The trail of blood and corpses that defined his whole life. The void, containing all the dead gathered behind him, was the shape of his defeat.
痛いよ。
His whisper was fleeting, near silent.
痛いよ。バラバラになりそうなくらい体が痛いよ。
Why was she hitting him? Why did she get mad at him?
私はこんなに頑張ってるのに。
He was now a she. Wolfgang Schreiber had been possessed by the memories of the time he lived as Anna Schreiber. It was his first trail, now old enough to be without even a trace of bones. Whether that fact was a curse or a blessing, no one could tell.
痛いよ、ムッタ。目が見えないよ。やめて、ぶたないで。目が痛いの。ムッタに刺されてから治ってないの。
Schreiber covered his barren right eye socket and began sobbing.
私のお客が多いのがいけないの。大勢の人に愛されるのが悪いことなの。ごめんなさい。私は醜いです。汚いです。みんなは私が珍しいから、こんなに顔が腫れてるから面白がって抱いてるだけ。
Jesus.
ムッタの方が綺麗。ムッタの方が美人。分かってる。分かってる。分かってる。分かってるよ。だから出来損ないなんて言わないで。
Christ.
私を愛して。愛して。愛して。もっとちゃんとした娘になるから。
Exposed to the demented appeal, Shiro and Ellie did nothing but slightly strain their faces. They didn't care about his circumstances. Schreiber's case wasn't the least bit rare. Most murderers were people who survived harsh childhoods and lost something in the process. Either empathy, the ability to tell right from wrong, or something else entirely. As such, the sight unfolding before them failed to tug on their heartstrings.
正当作環境と強烈かつ恒常的な頭部への打撃。シリアルキラー製造法の代表レシピだよ。
Yep.
つまりテンプレってな。
To Ellie and Shiro, it was no different than seeing an honor student study hard, get into a prestigious university, and start a career with an excellent corporation. Though the vector was catastrophically different, understatement, both cases were those of people walking a path set out for them.
見るに耐えないね。
Pun intended.
ああ、普通すぎてつまらんわ、こいつ。
Thus, they once again fixed their aim on Schreiber, fully intent on taking him out. He'd disappear even if they left him alone. With Vannergarnd, his Ananerabe destroyed, he was set to die sooner than later. Though he'd only restart again at the Devil's Castle, his death here now would be an absolute certainty. However, they couldn't let him stay as he was. They no longer wanted to look at or listen to him. Being around this bore of a nutcase had only cheapened the precious moment they had just experienced. Shiro and Ellie had enough of Schreiber. Watching him only made them feel unpleasant.
あなたが私のファーター？
The Ashen Knight paid no mind to them and only continued his soliloquy. Could it be really called that, though?
ほう。なんだよ、包帯なんかしやがって。そのみっともねえ化け物面見せてみろよ。
Suddenly, Schreiber began talking in another person's voice. It was throaty and hoarse enough to give people shivers.
気持ち悪いな。腐ってんじゃねえかよ。いらねえだろ、そんなもん。ほら、こっち向け。直してやっからよ。感謝しろよ、変態が。
何をするの？お願いやめて。
だから直してやるって言ってんだろうが。
Ellie, Shiro, you might want to stop this.
でもじゃねえんだよ。俺はあの陰媒に金払ってんだから仕事しろや。
Please, we're getting in some unsanitary territory. Please, shoot them! Schreiber began acting out a double role. Suddenly, he voiced a piercing shriek.
いいぜ。
No!
草
No!
にちょうどいいじゃねえか。
Stop!
こうブジュブジュっとよ、汚ねえ海が出てくるじゃねえか。グッとだぜ。
Christ! Please stop!
ああじゃねえんだよバケモンが。うるいいか、いいだろうが。てめえは変態の息子なんだよ。クソの股ぐらからひねり出されたんだよ。だったらそれっぽくあえげ。
Shiro!
なんだろうが。
Ellie, hurry up!
息子？
どこにこんな娘がいんだよ。てめえアホか。アホなんだな。あ、だったらそっちも直してやるよ。脳みそに届いてんだろ。なんだよ。ほら、目玉がえぐれたぜ。うじわってんだろ。こんなもんいつまでもつけてっから頭おかしくなんだよてめえは。
Okay, I hope you gave your Vater one hell of an agonizing death, Schreiber.
僕
ほら潰せ。その変態印ついた目玉よ。潰して俺の門にすりつけろや。さっさとやれ。
Okay! Stop! Stop! And so came another shriek. The kind of scream that would stay with a person to the rest of their lives, like the howl of someone in their death throes. When the echoes died down, his blank eye was filled with a searing light of madness.
死ね。
That single word harbored unfathomable hatred. No matter how valiant, no man could look directly into his eye. Pure rage and indignation far beyond the realm of insanity. The air grew heavy with bloodlust and began to whirl like a storm.
ムッターもファーターも男も女もみんな散れ。
He vowed to kill the creatures known as humans until not a single one of them walked the earth.
僕はあんな奴らと同じ生き物じゃない。
Schreiber reenacted the moment in which he died as a person. He had long since forgotten, but it was always with him. The event was simply far too haunting. No shit!
僕は不死身の英雄なんだ。
As Shiro held up his gun, aiming at the approaching beast that was Schreiber, he began to think. Perhaps, maybe, this state was his true nature. Wolfgang Schreiber's soul was that of a rampaging berserker. Regardless of how broken a person's mind was, speaking human words would require them to place a sort of limiter on their madness. Shiro thought that maybe Schreiber's true worth could only be unleashed now that he had completely lost himself. What if the creation figment from before was an incomplete version with the limiter on? Shiro had no means of confirming it, though. Without his Vandergarde, Schreiber was but a walking corpse, and no amount of rage could change that. There was no trace of his previous speed, nor could he activate his powers. Albedo's speed had dropped to the point where even a child could kill him. Adhering to his appearance, he acted like a wounded young girl would.
一発食らうのがスイッチだったんだね。
Yep.
一発食らわせて、それでも殺しきれなかった時に。
その時こそか。本当にくだらねえな。
The true nature of the untouched knight would only surface when someone laid a hand on him. No one had ever seen it, nor was Schreiber himself aware of it. And now that he'd been touched, he had become fragile enough to be shattered in a single hit.
わだちね。
Their victory was completely consequential, yet he couldn't help but consider his ideal. Still, a victory was a victory. Shiro bid the young lady good night and thought it'd be nice if she was reborn in a different country and time period.
お前みたいなつまんねえのと俺はもう喧嘩したくねえよ。
Sighing, he pulled the trigger. With his head shattered, Albedo disappeared, oblivious to his truth, right until the very end. Whether or not that fact itself was a blessing or a misfortune, no one knew. Yet in the end, Schreiber himself had made all the choices that led him down this path. He clearly had a life with a fatally small set of options, but Shiro didn't think that anyone was limited to just one. With that settled,
こっちもダメか。
まあすっごい無茶したしね、私ら。
the two exchanged a wry smile and sat down, clearly at their absolute limit.
ああ、レンとの喧嘩はどうも俺の負けみたいだわ。
They agreed that the first one to die would be the loser. Now, the results were clear for all to see.
別にそりゃこの際いいけど、打ち上げがやべえな。ちょっといけそうにねえんだけど。
しゃあないね。でもいいじゃん。私らいかにもそういうサボりそうな感じのキャラだし。
それで納得してもらうっつうのもな。お客さんがなんて言うか。
Well, I mean, considering this is both you and Ellie, I'm pretty sure the audience would kind of sadly expected this. I mean, I was preparing myself for you to die against Schreiber, but shit, man.
だからあんたはまたそうやってわけのわかんないこと。
ま、いっか。
Shiro ignored Ellie's comment and put on a cheerful smile.
知らん。勝手にやれ。マジどうでもいい。だいたいなんで俺様が他人の顔色を伺わなきゃなんねんだよ。俺の人生は俺のもんだ。
はいはい。
Ellie imagined that Ren must have had his hands full with a friend like that.
でもよ、あん時のあれは良かったな。あれだけで。まあともかく会話あった。きっとありゃあいつのおかげか。
多分。っていうか、そうだといいよね。
They exchanged another smile as their bodies continued to leak blood at an alarming rate.
ああ、ダリは。
私も。
They spread themselves out on the ground and looked up at the magic circle etched on the canopy of heaven.
勝てよ。
こっち来ても叩き返すからね。
They sounded gleeful. Melancholy never suited them either way. Thus, they would have been glad if he didn't think too much of this either. Neither of them cared about coming back to life or turning immortal. They closed their eyes with their minds at peace, as if they were only falling asleep. Ray felt something warm. It was enveloping and embracing her. While reminiscent of a pleasant afternoon nap, the sensation actually worked to awaken her. After all, the warmth was far too alien for the crucible, which was but a vortex of endless denial and rejection. She saw it as a ray of light. Indeed, it was the absolute truth, and a display of their true nature. Her dearest treasures, the ones with fiercely shining lives and strong yet gentle hearts. Ray could perceive all the battles and feel all their souls. Though she was still within the all-melting crucible, Ray could hear her own voice. She didn't know how she came back to her senses, nor why Isak's thoughts no longer attacked her. However, reasons didn't matter. The only important thing was that her friends were helping her. Ray was wholly certain of that. It made her understand that she hadn't been abandoned. It opened her eyes to what had to be done. It gave her strength.
Captain.
She begged her voice to reach him. Oh? The Iron Niggerdo's voice shook with astonishment as he gazed at me with confused eyes. Fuck you, that's how! However, I was far more shocked by this event than he was. The Volsunga saga was supposed to end with the hero's death. Being a hero meant standing above common men, and it was a given that such people would be granted a death far more severe than anyone below. Machina's fist was that very death-given form, so why did I still draw breath after taking a direct hit from him? Logically speaking, no object or concept in existence could withstand his attack. Oh my. Machina's fists brought an end to these stories of all they hit, so if there was anything able to resist them, it would be something born on the very moment of the impact. A new world where everything was at zero. Oh boy. The world was alive. The fallen champion believed the death he harbored to be absolute. Unable to accept the failure, he released a battle cry and raised his all-ending fist once more. At that moment, I finally grasped what was going on. This was Mind Marie's world. The world we both emanated. Thus, we no longer had anything to be afraid of. Together. We would defeat Machina, bring Gladsheim to ruin, and return to a world showered by sunlight. Every single one of us would be there. Oh my god, yes. I swung my right arm with all I had, making the blade meet with his fist and fill the air with sparks. His attacks were no longer fatal. As long as his creation figment was active, his Volsunga saga could drop the curtains on countless stories. The somber battalion commander's power was menacing and dangerous enough to kill even Reinhard. In my current state, however, I was an exception. Oh. It's no longer a skull on that scythe. It was only natural for Machina to be shocked. Even I was dumbfounded by this. Even if I was able to cancel out his all-ending fist of the new story that began at that very moment, it shouldn't have worked out more than once. His attacks brought an end to history itself. The time gathered in steps walked by any creature, object, information, or concept. Thus, even if I survived the first attack, the most meager amount of time that passed after the impact would give me a story, making the following blow fatal. Even a fraction of a millisecond would be enough. Thus, to stand against his Deus Ex Machina, I had to constantly stay at zero. I was being kept alive by an absolute standstill. It sealed his craving and rendered his fists merely ordinary. Another one of my slashes clashed with Machina's arm. For the third time in a row, the all-ending fist left me unscathed. Though unrealistic and immature, my wish was sincere and stale enough to be relatable to many. I wanted to prolong the moment. I never wanted them to be over. Our weapons clashed again as we faced each other head-on, not taking a single step back. This guy, he alone was an opponent I couldn't avoid no matter what. So he's basically made himself almost invincible by literally stopping time on himself. Mercurius forced me into this extraordinary life. While the Golden Beast deemed me worthy of being his rival and began a war. I finally came to know the true nature of the knight before me. We both believed each other to be nothing more than that, and considered ourselves to be the undeniable owners of our own beings. His cravings was a clear sham, and I would never waver on that point. After all, I never once wished for something as stupid as death.
かつて蛇は俺に言った。選べとな。
Yeah, I wouldn't expect anything else from that sleazy bastard.
終焉と失踪。その廃反を2つに分けろと。どちらにするか。どちらを選ぶか。うちの一つにしか俺の子がは宿れぬと。
それでお前が選んだのは終わりかよ。
そうだ。俺はその瞬間を覚えている。
And that was why he had confidence in his identity. It gave validity and truth to his desire.
お前は形骸から作られたクラフトのおもちゃだ。奴の傀儡として放し飼いにされているだけの人形に過ぎん。
てめえはさっきからごちゃごちゃと。
None of it mattered to me. I was myself, regardless of what he said, and that alone was enough for me to consider him the fake.
大体
I took advantage of an opening and closed in towards him.
男がベラベラと吠えてんじゃねえ。
Machina, of course, responded by launching his fist at me. Our attacks crossed one another with perfect refractional symmetry and both hit their targets. Though they weren't fatal, we both were left with significant injuries on our chests. Nevertheless, I put on an indomitable smile.
聞かねえんだよ。
Just a bunch of broken ribs, not nearly enough to kill me. As long as the standstill was active, he could never end me.
抜かせ。お前こそぬるいわ。
This was the reason why I realized he and I shared the same origin. Time itself was at a standstill, yet Machina moved around as normal. He didn't stop, even though his power should have only given him the sprint to me and my allies. He could have struggled against me if he was clad in another world's emanation, but he remained on the Beria degree. That was out of the question. The idea that he was my ally felt even more absurd. Marie and I only gave the right to move to those who were supposed to participate in the party. Only one plausible explanation remained, that he was me, and I was him. What about it, though? My enemies happened to have one exceedingly annoying dumbass on their side. There was nothing more to it. It changed absolutely nothing about what I do. Kraft's plaything? Whatever. That guy was just a sleazy freak. I'd never let him have Marie. Hell, the guy before me couldn't even escape Reinhard's control. That clearly made him far less equipped to be the protagonist of his Valsunga saga. However, if I had to name just one thing I didn't like about him,
お前はラインハルトを倒せるだろう。
I fixed my gaze on Machina while barraging him with a storm of blades.
その拳で殴ればあいつだって死ぬだろう。
He stared at everyone with eyes like that of a dead fish, refusing to do anything about his situation. That pissed me off more than anything else.
どこまで奴隷なんだよお前は。
Sure, winning would be difficult, but the possibility clearly wasn't zero. Not to mention that, as an immortal, he could lose and challenge him again and again.
そんな腰抜けが俺に偉そうなこと言うなよ。
Damn.
お前には分からん。俺はもう二度と死から目覚めたくない。
The man of iron spat out the words in a heavy tone, dark as the Stygian night.
お前も覚えていないのか。
That was the first question he gave me. He asked if I knew the moment of our death because he himself had forgotten
ある
it.
日目を覚ましてみれば俺はハイドリヒの城にいた。わかるか。文字通り目が覚めたという程度でしか俺は認識していない。死は一度きり。故に激しく生きる意味がある。そう吠えたところですでに起こった事実は変わらない。ならば やり直すだけだ。
Hold on.
取りこぼした塩。わかるか。文字通り目が覚めたという程度でしか俺は認識していない。夜に3本足のものが朝に4本足になるのと変わらん。
Sorry, I needed to go back and listen to that.
わかるか。
I'm not messing this up,
その
damn it.
唯一、二度と失敗の許されぬ唯一無二。俺にとって絶対に譲れぬ聖戦だ。それをなぜハイドリヒなどに使わねばならん。奴を倒す。はあ、満回やれば一度や二度はいけるかもな。だがそのために何回死ねとお前は言うのだ。俺の唯一、どこまで安く見ているのだ。
Even though he didn't make my mind waver, I was completely lost on how to respond. I couldn't refute his reasoning. After all, I completely understood him. Death should only come once. That very fact made life worth living with fervor. Anything that could be easily regained.
そんなものはゴミだ。
He voiced the same idea I did some time ago. While there was the difference in what we prioritized between life and death, we both came to the same conclusion.
一度しかないし、もう逃せないし。ハイドリヒは墓の王だ。奴が率いる死は無限にある。意味がない。
And that was why he chose me?
言ったろ。お前とは過去に戦ったことがある。
As if he had read my thoughts, Machina made a grin before launching yet another attack, which I easily repelled. The symmetry between us almost made me sick. Our compatibility was so good I couldn't even guess who'd win.
城で目覚めた初の蘇生と、お前と別れた時は別だ。
Upon dying on some nameless battlefield, Machina awoke within Reinhard's castle. What could have happened there?
思い出させてやる。
He unleashed his fist yet again.
黒煙卓には一つだけ空席があった。
I reflexively dodged and distanced myself. However, the rapid and boisterous onslaught of his attack showed no sign of ending. Well,
最初期はハイドリヒとクラフトを頂点とした国。
how hilarious. The all-ending fist is never ending. I feel bad at myself for making such a stupid joke.
ベイ、ザミエル、シュライダー、マレウス、バビロン、クリストフ、そしてバルキュリア。
Or left.
トバルカインとシュピーネが後に続き、増年金とは最初から予約席だ。なあ、一人足りんだろ。
The seventh. His seat, basically.
随分。
そう、天秤だ。
I took the downwards blow and pushed it away, making Machina return to a considerable distance away from me, where he began gathering power in his fist. The very air trembled like in a heat haze. Even if they couldn't kill me in one hit, only a fool would underestimate the destructive power of Machina's roaring punches.
ではどうする？駒が足りなければ埋めねばならん。しかし欠番は随分。黒煙卓の中央にある天秤の座だ。生半可なものは据えられまい。ならばもうわかるだろう。カール・クラフトがそうした時、 どういう手段を用いるか。
He put on a thin, gloomy smile, similar to one a sickly person would give to a fellow sufferer. Looking at it, I easily understood what he was getting at. Carl Croft had a particular liking to a certain methodology.
作ればいい。
We voiced the answer in complete unison.
ハイドリヒの城で目覚めた先祖たち。そこで最後の一人になるまでの殺し合いだよ。負けた者は勝った者に吸収され、ついに俺が最後まで残った。無論楽だった戦いなど一度もない。
Shit.
全員が自律的に城で目覚めたエインフェリアの資格者だ。しかし俺はそんなところで死ぬわけにはいかない。
Christ, no wonder you wanted all to end. You were just put through some agonizing hell, dude. He ended up robbed of his one and only death. If he were to regain it, dying within the all-restoring Devil's Castle was not an option. To Machina, it was literally a struggle to the death.
そこでお前とは戦っているはずだ。
Everyone at the Gauntlet of Malice killed one another to be released from the Devil's Castle.
俺は最後まで残ったが、結果として最も強くハイドリヒの城に縛られている。故にそこからさらにもう一戦だ。最強たる子、万のエインフェリアと融合した俺をさらに二つ。お前はその片割れだ。俺の子がは俺が持っていったのだから、お前の子が俺が殺した誰かのものなのだろう。兄弟だと言ったな。俺たちはひととき血肉を共有したが、別に同一人物なわけではない。性格の異なる双子だとでも思え。
Wait. So what you're saying is whenever I get older, I'm gonna look like you. How the hell did you bother to put that together? You know what? Let's just get on with the fight, goddammit.
ハイドリヒとクラフト、そして俺の利害は一致している。奴らは俺たちを噛み合わせて真に最強の子を生み出し、俺はお前を殺すことで城からの解放を約束された。求める死はその時だ。お前に殺されるのもいいが、そうなると。
He didn't want to come back to life ever again. It was a wish that could only be fulfilled by slaying Reinhard.
確率として低すぎる。不可能と言っていい。お前は俺に過去負けている。ハイドリヒには届かん。それにな。
He clenched his iron hand and held it high in preparation to unleash that power onto me.
奴らの理想はお前の勝利だ。故に気に食わん。鼻を明かしてやりたい。
Machina's fist soared through the air towards me, summoning thunderous winds resembling a fierce explosion.
その時、奴らの顔は見物だろうよ。60年が水泡に帰した間抜けさを存分に未知として噛みしめればよいのさ。
Holy shit, Machina laughed! Machina burst into laughter. His voice turned shaky, his eyes bloodshot. His fist was right before my eyes. With every cell in his body, the nameless champion of the castle's gauntlet howled to grind me to dust. He claimed to have defeated me once, a feat that he aimed to repeat. I could certainly understand his state of mind. I didn't really believe all he said to me just now, but it was obvious that he wouldn't entrust his dearest wish to someone weaker than him. I could easily see what he was getting at, but he completely disregarded something really important. Even if this was really my second battle with him, I didn't have Marie by my side during the first. There was no way I could have, and I knew the reasons behind his defeat all too well. One of them was that he, betraying his usual disposition, babbled on for far too long. I glared at the fist closing in on me. Within the coming of that single attack, I could run my mind through a multitude of things. Something was definitely wrong. He was taking far too long to hit me. As my comrade, he deserved to know this. Hell yeah! Voicing that one fact of absolute truth, I resumed my sprint. The moment Machina's earnest attack was supposed to hit, his target disappeared from sight. The somber knight hid his astonishment with the pride of one who had survived countless battles. The negation of his all-ending fist was a far greater menace. Either way. As such, his enemy's disappearance to hardly be enough to perplex the strongest warrior of the Devil's Castle. His opponent came from behind his right side. It was based entirely on intuition, but it didn't fail him. Though far below Reinhard's soul-fueled perception, Machina's own resilience went far beyond the common man's. Those unable to display logic-defying abilities when faced with death itself were nothing but fakers. They would perish before they got their chance to shine on the battlefield. He turned as he launched a backhand blow straight toward Ren's temporal region. The added centrifugal force gave his attack enough power to pulverize the boy's head, but it wouldn't be a problem even if he was able to dodge it. And indeed he did. The backhand blow went through the air, and Machina quickly used the momentum of the vain attack to launch an upwards roundhouse kick. The somber knight became certain of his victory. But his leg missed yet again. His opponent was gradually surpassing his instincts and perceptive ability. Though meager, a sense of worry began to whirl within his iron heart. You can't even fucking see him! The sworn enemy of his holy crusade could now only be seen as a momentary afterimage. Machina had defeated and absorbed him once before. They were one until the serpentine sorcerer offered him a choice. His tendencies, tactics, disposition, and soul, Negrito had forgotten nothing about his opponent. After all, right until that moment, the battle was progressing exactly as he thought it would. Though certain things remained outside his expectations, everything about his opponent was foreknowledge to him. If he couldn't bring the curtains down, all he had to do was end the act by pulverizing the stage itself. For reasons unknown, however, he could no longer read or understand his rival. The boy claimed that the woman made the difference, but the somber knight couldn't accept that. No glory could be earned by relying on such weakness in a battle fought between men. The Volsunga saga could only be complete with a lone hero followed his pride to the absolute end of his journey. He didn't need a place to return to, and anyone at his side would only be a burdening impurity. Negrito was intent on proving that clinging to such things would be the cause of his opponent's demise. It was necessary to make him painfully aware of that fact. Machina was alone, and Ren was burdened. The former couldn't have been slower than the latter. The black light closed in with speed that rendered him unable to perceive the guillotine's blade. Machina evaded it by a hair's breadth. As dangerous as the attack may have been, all that mattered was that he survived. He was able to dodge it once, so the power relation between them became fixed. Ren could attack him 100 times more, but the result would remain the same. Their battle would still end the same way. After all, they both wished for a standstill as much as the other. Nothing could change. No amount of retries could yield a different result to the same equation. Nothing was meant to change, and yet... The slash that followed bit several millimeters into his neck. Machina was unable to evade it. His opponent had become swifter beyond measure, and continued showing a different result with every repeat. He roared and threw his fist, which missed by an even greater margin than his previous one. Machina was fully certain that a hit could reduce his opponent to dust, but all he did was rustle the air. Another slash from the boy scraped even more millimeters of his neck. The somber knight couldn't even see the source of the voice. to reach his completion with his final death.
明日を見ないで
Well, that was the final point of his struggle.
どうやって前に進む
Heading towards a place where one had to return to create nothing but a never-ending cycle. Had enough. He wished for it to end. Machina had to prevent himself from experiencing yet another resurrection. Thus, he fervently wished to be released from Gladsheim. Though his head was already about halfway off, it didn't stop his advance.
なるほど。確かに俺とお前は違う。
He had pride in himself and failed to understand his opponent. In the end, they were nothing but two separate beings. It was only obvious that he would be rejected.
故にお前の世界から俺は排除されつつある。
As he had just said, he was his own person. That awareness made him become bound by the emanated law. Sooner than later, his own time would completely halt. However, that didn't matter the somber night, as he didn't believe in what his opponent could accomplish after defeating him.
お前にハイドリヒが倒せるのか
The Golden Lord of the Dead, felled by one who honored a mere woman's feelings? Nonsense.
俺の望みは俺の力で完遂する。他力などに頼らん
Thus, he couldn't allow himself to be defeated here. And if his opponent would ignore that, if Ren could inherit his Volsunga saga,
納得させてみろ。この俺を
the boy had to prove himself capable of ending the repetition of strife.
させんがな
ああおとなしく見てろ
There he is! For but a moment, Negro's intuition caught a glimpse of his enemy. After seeing Ren with his mind's eye, he gave his all into a perfect strike directed at where he thought his opponent would be next. Machina felt certain it would hit. Thus, if his comrade was able to evade it.
俺は負けない
He wouldn't hesitate to agree that he had changed since their last battle.
ラインハルトは俺が倒す
ああ
When their attacks crossed, he finally realized his time was completely halted.
では勝ってみろ
A faint, yet positively tranquil smile decorated the Iron Negro's face as his head flew.
見事
Whoa! What the hell's playing right now? Neither the Transcendent Mercury, spectating the final act as it unfolded.
素晴らしい
Nor the Golden Arbinger, standing atop a magic circle stretching across the canvas of the far heavens, could refrain from expressing their joy.
ではいよいよ始めようか
The souls of the Crimson Rubido and the Maddened Albedo, defeated in the very same moment, joined with the Iron Negrido to return unto Reinhard's breast, coiling back into his ever-swelling legion, peerless in prowess across all the cosmos.
ならば私はこれで
そうだなすぐに会おう
Yeah, boy. Upon the vast seas of our newborn world. Seeing his sworn friend off with a meager glance, Reinhard once again shifted his gaze downwards. The boy's hegemony could halt the flow of time itself. As such, even if it eradicated the olden law, the touch of the unknown would elude his halted senses still.
故に私の波動で塗りつぶそうどちらが新世界の道を開くか
His heart danced with excitement. Everything was panning out just as he desired. A certain man once told him that he was not releasing his full potential. Those words were indistinguishable from the delusions of a young man intoxicated with the feelings of omnipotence. But he was exactly that. A being that didn't belong in this world. Nothing he beheld would move him. His heart was a stranger to true liberty, the thrill of victory. Never had he felt satisfaction as men did when a great obstacle crumbled beneath their feet. He would make that logic of his a universal. And so the world would behold the true power of the Monarch of Destruction. He would ravage, absorb, and paint the cosmos anew in his color. The world fit for him would be born in its wake, bursting forth in a torrent as it emanated, washing away the olden law that once was. The present moment, the war between conflicting hegemonies, was the perfect time for him to display his true power. For becoming what they were, his opponents were truly worthy of his love. He'd always wished to say the words that he found an opponent worthy to clash with.
ではいざ参らん。新たなる祝福の天地へ。
Piling their prayers, thousands of deceased gathered to create a path from the magic circle to the tower, right to where their lord's venerable rival stood and stared upwards with palpable vehemence.
来い。
And thus began their finale, grander than any struggle fought before, an exquisite clash to end it all.
フローへワイナハテ。
He had long since yearned for this moment, enduring the ever-present torment of that wretched ghetto. This would be our final battle. Reinhard may have stood alone, but the legion under his command easily numbered in the millions.
バルハラだと。
That time, if they really wanted to fight so much, they could just drop dead and go to hell.
俺がそれを作ってやる。
Oh boy. A moment later, I found myself dashing up the grim steps at inhuman speed. Reinhard waited for his opponent's arrival. His heart raced with excitement and burdening impatience. Both of them were at the peak of their powers. There was nary a need to hold back. He urged the promised Hellig Arch to revolve and emanate his legion.
怒りの日、終末の時、天地万物は怪人と化し、ダビデとシビラの予言のごとくに砕け散る。
Day of wrath and doom impending. David's word with Sibyl's blending. Heaven and earth into ashes ending. Reinhard hoped to witness a display of lovable resistance from the Sun King. However, he knew it to be too late, for his gold had washed over the canvas of the universe. Not yet. This was merely the beginning. Marie was a jewel whose fragments were beginning to spread. I would never allow him to taint her world with his color. After all, I knew that.
海は幅広く、無限に広がって流れ出すもの。水底の輝きこそが永久不変。
Vast is the sea, its waves reaching horizons far and wide. Eternal is the radiance of its azure womb.
たとえどれほどの旋律が待ち受けようとも、審判者が来た。厳しく窮され、一つ余さず燃え去り消える。
For what fear man's bosom rended, when heaven the judge descended, on those sentence all depended. Until he chanced upon something he had yet to ravage. Heaven and hell, God and Satan, all things in creation, from the first universe that was, at the last that will ever be.
栄光たる星の速さとともに、今こそ疾走して駆け抜けよう。
And so let us ride this moment and dash forth, swift as light, quick as a star eternal! I would dash, no matter how far, for I felt the presence of those who ran alongside me.
藤井君、勝って。
Of course I would. So I hoped she would do her best as well.
お願い。
This is so good! She could count on me.
ここで待ってるから帰ってきてよ。
I would, and I knew she'd be there waiting for me.
こうや大変だね、ベン君も。
And I could really use their help.
勝手にやれよ。マジどうでもいいし。
It'd be great if this dumbass got his shit together. But even if he didn't, all our hearts were one.
どうか引き届けてほしい。世界は穏やかに安らげる日々を願っている。
Hear my plea and grant this one wish. The world longs for an era of peace, days that know not strife. The crimson flames of war would rise to grant Reinhard the peace he had longed for. eradicating all till nothing was left.
我が総軍に響き渡れ、絶えなる調べ。海戦の合法よ、皆すべからく玉座のもとに集うべし。
Wondrous sound the trumpet flingeth, though earth's so sepulchres it ringeth? The fuck is this? Nah, fuck it. All before the throne it bringeth. His well-tall soldiers would rise and well forth to fill the realm till its very veins burst open.
涙と罪の裁きを、刑が灰よりよみがえらん。さえば天主よ、その時彼らを許したまえ。
From the dust of earth returning, man for judgment must prepare him. Spare, O God, in mercy spare him. Had I not met Marie, I would have remained a child, blissfully ignorant, unable to feel as strongly about someone as I did now. Therefore,
自由な民と自由な世界で、どうかこの瞬間に言わせてほしい。
in a world where only peace is Lord and men join hands in liberty, allow me to sing but this. Of course, I loved her from the bottom of my heart.
時よ止まれ。君は誰よりも美しいから。
Alto time, for thou art fair beyond measure. Together we would finally bring Reinhard down.
永遠の君に願う。俺を高みへと導いてくれ。
I wish upon your unending star. Guide me to heights unknown.
慈悲深き者よ、今永遠の死を与える。Amen.
Lord all-pitying, Jesus blessed, grant them thine eternal rest. Amen.
では一つ、皆様私の歌劇をご観覧あれ。
Okie dokie.
当てると。
Oh!
その筋書きはありきたりだが。
I don't even care if it's cliche. I don't even care. This is making me so fucking happy.
ドゥゾルス
We'll fall from the chaos.
役者が良い、思考と信ずる。レースノエ
A tale of transcendence.
ゆえに面白くなると思うよ。
デスイレ
Day of wrath.
アルトシプラーハッツアーティスト
To crown the new world. Oh my god! Oh! Oh my god! Sorry. Okay. My arrival to where Reinhard stood marked the start of our battle.
今、我らこそがこの世界の中心にある。
I'm sorry, that had to be the end of the chapter there. That had to be. I'm sorry. That had to have been the fucking end of the chapter. That had to have been. I need a minute. Ooh. Ooh. I'm gonna. Ooh. Can you Ooh. I need a Okay. I am okay, to say that I am a to say that I'm a bit overwhelmed right now would be a bit of an understatement. I feel like that had to have been the end there. And I'm gonna hurt you guys with probably the worst fucking cliffhanger that I could think of. I hope you have fun with that, because this is gonna hurt me not being able to record, because I wanted to record a little bit more just so I could cover up those 3 battles, but it got me to the point where I needed to go further and further and further. I'm going to, this is going to be a very painful week, having to wait for this to, this is going to be a very painful week. I'm going to end it here. Thank you all very much for watching. I'm going to, I need a moment. I haven't mentioned how much this is going to be fun. Thank you all very much for watching. I apologize that I'm ending it on this horrifyingly bad cliffhanger, because I feel like it's going to keep on going, and the battle's going to be fucking long. Thank you all very much for watching. I'm going to end it. Thank you all so much. Yes, Irae, I'm out.
Hello there everybody, Sabato92 here, and if you like this video, be sure to let me know in the comments down below. And hey, if you guys like my content, then maybe you'd like to check out another channel who I think deserves equal attention. So click that nightmare emblem and check out that channel, or go to the links in the description down below. Once again, thank you, and I'll see you guys in the next video.